All right, buckle up, everyone, because we are diving headfirst into a pairing that needs little introduction, Taurus and Scorpio. We've gotten a ton of requests to unpack this one, and I have a feeling it's not just about casual connections, right? We're talking about the sparks, the chemistry, the meant to be kind of stuff. Am I right?
It's definitely a dynamic that captures the imagination, that's for sure. You've got two very different energies at play. The grounded sensuality of Taurus clashing with Scorpio's depth and intensity. It's a recipe for, well, let's just say, things can get pretty interesting when these two signs collide.
Oh, I bet. And the fact that they're astrological opposites only adds fuel to the fire, doesn't it? What is it about this opposition that creates such a strong pull between them?
Well, in astrology, opposite signs occupy opposing positions on the zodiac wheel. So, while they might seem totally different on the surface, they actually represent two sides of the same coin. It's like they complete each other in a way that no other pairing can.
So it's kind of like they each have what the other one is missing.
Exactly. And that's what creates that magnetic attraction. It's like they sense a part of themselves reflected in the other, a missing piece of their own puzzle.
I can see how that would be pretty intense right from the start. But how does this opposition play out in real life, like in terms of their values, their communication styles?
It can manifest in so many ways. But let's take communication, for example. Taurus is known for being straightforward, grounded, and practical. They tell it like it is, no sugarcoating.
Whereas Scorpio, I'm guessing, is a bit more dot complex.
You could say that. Scorpio is ruled by both Mars, the planet of action and desire, and Pluto, the planet of transformation and the underworld. So, yeah, they've got a lot going on beneath the surface.
That sounds intense, to say the least.
It can be. Scorpio processes the world through their emotions, and they're not afraid to delve into the depths, even the dark and messy parts that others might shy away from. They crave authenticity and vulnerability, and they expect the same for their partners.
I can see how that could be both exhilarating and terrifying at the same time.
Absolutely. It's not for the faint of heart, but for those who are drawn to that kind of depth, a relationship with a Scorpio can be incredibly transformative and healing.
And how does Taurus, with their love of peace and stability, handle that level of emotional intensity? Are they scared off right away or...
Well, Taurus is an earth sign, right? They're all about practicality and keeping things grounded.
Exactly. They're not afraid of intensity, but they approach it differently than a Scorpio might. Taurus is looking for stability, security. They want to build something real and lasting. And that can be incredibly attractive to a Scorpio who, for all their intensity, also craves that sense of safety and belonging.
So it's kind of like Taurus provides the solid ground that Scorpio needs to really let go and be vulnerable.
That's a great way to put it. Taurus provides that sense of unwavering support that allows Scorpio to explore the depths of their emotions without fear of judgment or rejection. That makes a lot of sense. But it seems like their differences go beyond just communication and emotional expression, right? Like even in terms of how they approach intimacy, Taurus and Scorpio seem to be coming from completely different planets.
You're definitely right about that. This is where that whole opposites attract thing gets really interesting. Taurus experiences intimacy through their senses. They're all about physical touch, sensual pleasure, really savoring the moment.
And Scorpio, I'm guessing they're not exactly known for their go-with-the-flow approach to romance.
Not quite. Scorpio brings that Martian intensity and passion, but it goes deeper than just physical attraction. They want to merge completely with their partner, body, and soul.
Wow, that's intense. It's almost like they're looking for a spiritual experience as much as a physical one.
You could say that. For Scorpio, intimacy is a way to break down barriers, to merge completely with another person and experience the world through their eyes.
So it's not just about the sparks flying, it's about what those sparks ignite. It sounds like they have the potential to create something really powerful together. But what about outside the bedroom? I mean, do these two signs actually have anything in common when it comes to shared values or how they approach everyday life?
Well, despite their differences, Taurus and Scorpio do share some fundamental values. They're both fixed signs, which means they crave stability, loyalty, and they're incredibly committed once they've given their hearts away.
So no fair weather friends or casual flings for these two.
Definitely not. When a Taurus or Scorpio commits, they commit fully, with every fiber of their being.
Okay, so loyalty, commitment. We're off to a good start. But doesn't Taurus value peace and harmony while Scorpio thrives on, well, intensity? How does that work long term?
That's where things can get a little tricky. Taurus's need for peace and quiet might clash with Scorpio's desire for emotional depth and a bit of drama, let's be honest.
Yeah, a little drama never hurt anyone.
Right. Well, maybe a little. But you're right, it's all about finding that balance. Too much peace and quiet can bore a Scorpio, and too much intensity can be overwhelming for a Taurus.
So how do they find that middle ground? How do you reconcile those seemingly opposite needs? It's like that saying, you can't live with them, can't live without them. But seriously, how do Taurus and Scorpio find a way to make it work long term with all these potential clashes?
It all boils down to communication. And I don't just mean talking about their feelings, though that's important too. Remember how we talked about Taurus experiencing the world through their senses?
Right, they're all about the sensual pleasures, good food, nature, all that good stuff.
Exactly. And Scorpio, for all their intensity, also needs to feel secure, grounded. So for these two, actions often speak louder than words. Think acts of service, physical touch, spending quality time together. Those are the things that really build trust and connection in a Taurus-Scorpio relationship.
So grand romantic gestures aren't really their style.
Not so much. They'd much rather have a partner who shows up for them consistently, who understands their needs without having to say a word. It's about that deep, unspoken connection that we talked about earlier.
It's like they have their own unique love language that goes beyond just saying, I love you, right?
Absolutely. It's about understanding the way your partner expresses and receives love. And for Taurus and Scorpio, that often involves a lot of nonverbal communication.
That's fascinating. So it's not just about the initial attraction or the intensity. It's about how they show up for each other in those everyday moments.
Exactly. It's about creating a safe and supportive space where both partners feel seen, heard, and understood. And that takes effort, communication, and a willingness to embrace those differences that initially drew them together.
Because at the end of the day, those differences are what make their connection so special, right?
Exactly. It's about recognizing that your partner isn't always going to see the world the way you do, and that's okay. It's about finding beauty in those differences and allowing them to enrich the relationship.
That's such a great point. It's not about changing each other. It's about growing together.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from that initial spark of attraction to the challenges and rewards of building a lasting bond. Any final thoughts for our listeners who might be navigating a Taurus-Scorpio relationship, or really any relationship for that matter?
Remember that relationships take work, but the rewards can be immeasurable. Don't be afraid to embrace your differences, to communicate openly and honestly, and most importantly, to cherish those moments of connection that make it all worthwhile.
Beautifully said. It's been a pleasure unpacking this complex and fascinating pairing with you today. And for all of you listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Taurus and Scorpio compatibility. Until next time, keep exploring those cosmic connections.